Hey guys, it's your girl Eda. Aside from being the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast host, I am a legal consultant, author, and advocate for change within the legal industry. Every episode, we dive deep into the tools, strategies, and real world insights you need to succeed, featuring inspiring guests and topics that matter most to the modern legal profession. So, if you find value in these conversations, be sure to subscribe to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast and download our episodes for your commute, coffee break, or brainstorming session. And if you know someone who could benefit, don't forget to send them our way. Referrals are always welcome. Let's create a stronger, more empowered legal industry together. In this episode, we dig into empowerment, personal growth, and redefining success with Erin Gerner, a former attorney turned elite coach who helps powerhouse female lawyers step into their power and create fulfilling, purpose-driven lives. If you're ready to break free from burnout, embrace your full potential, and design a career and life you're truly in love with, listen in for more. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. And as y'all know, I sometimes hand select my guest on the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast, and I definitely hand selected her, and I'm so happy that she said yes, because I've been a longtime fan of hers for a very, again, long time. I've been following her on LinkedIn and all the socials, and I just love her energy, her vibe, and really what she brings to the table, because she has a lot of good nuggets to share, and hopefully she'll share some of that with us today. But without further ado, Erin, hi, welcome to the show.
Gosh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. This is so fun.
I love it. And I know that you have your own podcast, so how weird is it to be on the other side of the coin, huh?
Well, it's funny because I kind of like it. It takes the pressure off me, like from being the host. And it's funny, I was just telling you before we hit record, I had just recorded a podcast with someone else. And so I was like, I'm changing gears, but I kind of like it. I love my podcast is very conversational too. And I love to just have a great chat with powerhouse women. So we're vibing and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so on that note, let's continue that conversation and let's talk about you. You used to be an attorney and now you're coaching attorneys and legal professionals, specifically women. So how did that come about?
Well, it's kind of been, well, it has not kind of, it has been a very long, windy road. I went to law school, not really knowing what I was getting myself into. I'm not one of those people who always knew that they wanted to be a lawyer. I think there are two camps of us, like the people who've always known they wanted to be a lawyer, and then the people who were like, I got 3 more years to figure this out. I'm going to law school. People tell me I was smart, like to argue. Not a great plan. Again, we're early 20s. We don't know. But anyway, so I went on to law school. Loved law school, actually. I'm a huge dork. Love to study. Love all the things. Did great in law school. Did what I was supposed to. Went to big law, straight on in, and quickly was drinking from the fire hose and was wholly unprepared for what was greeting me during that time. And this was also, I graduated from law school in '05. Just aged myself. Um, but working from home wasn't an option. There wasn't flexibility. And I was in big law too. So it was just, the whole thing. And eventually I left big law during the '08 recession. My entire real estate department was like eliminated and all of that craziness, and really like a blessing in disguise, right? Because I do not think I would have ever left that job on my own. So just now looking back, like at the time I thought it was the end of the world, but looking back now, I can just see that this was very much part of the plan, obviously. Went in-house, thought that was going to, heal all wounds. It did not. And really the common denominator through all of this was that I did not have a mentor. I did not have a community. I did not understand that there were people in the legal profession who were out there who were willing to throw the rope back and help you navigate a very difficult, high pressure situation. And not having that and not knowing that, you think it's either one way or the other, or you feel like a failure, or you feel like I chose the wrong profession, or I can't hack it, or this isn't for me. And while I was at that in-house job, I became a mom. And for all the moms out there, shout out, that changes everything, right? I left that office on a Friday afternoon and walked back in, 3 months later on a Monday and was like, I am not the same person, but this is the same place. This is
Yeah.
the same place. And how am I going to navigate that again without tools, without a community, without a mentor? And so after a couple years of kind of just burning the candle at both ends, I ended up going to stay home with my oldest daughter. My husband's also an attorney, so we obviously made that decision together, and I had another baby during that time, but it was a complete identity crisis, right? What it did, it obviously took the pressure off of that situation, but then put it in a whole different place. Like that did not
Mhm.
eliminate the problem. Like I thought, oh, this is going to fit. Newsflash, it did not. It just sent me down a path of having to really discover who the heck Erin was outside of being a lawyer. Like, what did she really want for her life? Like, who was she if she wasn't listening to what everybody else wanted her to do? And so, during those years, I actually joined a social selling company where I found community. And it was actually a company that was started by a former lawyer. And I was like, wait a second. This woman isn't practicing law. She left her litigation practice and she's doing this amazing thing and has started this company and is impacting all these people and giving people opportunities to impact their family. I was like, hold on a second. Like she's off the traditional path. So what's going on here? And I was also introduced to a community of powerhouse women who were dreaming differently, who were making money and building lives and building wealth in a different way that I had never thought of. And when you put yourself in the room with women who are thinking differently, dreaming big, doing all this stuff, you can't help but be changed. And I've always been the coach in life. Like this is from like childhood. Let's call Erin. She's going to know what to do. Erin knows what to do. Like even my mom last week was like, okay, I need you to coach me through this. I was like, and my hourly rate is no. But that's just been who I am in my life. But through this social selling company, I really leaned in because I did not want to go back to practice law. I was like, oh, this is a great way I can make some extra money and like alleviate some of the stress of me having to go back full time to do that. And I built a huge team coaching and mentoring other women to build businesses for their families. And I was like, oh, coaching is a thing. Like this is an actual thing. And while I've built these people's brand very well, I'd like to build my own brand. And so it really was entrepreneurship in a vacuum for me. It taught me a lot of skills really fast. And I was like, I can do this. And I've always had that knowing that there's something else, but I couldn't really like put my finger on it, knowing that I feel like I'm a very unemployable lawyer. I'm like, I don't feel like I can work for somebody else. I just want to work for me. I want to work for me. I want to build my thing. And so, yeah, Powerhouse Lawyers was born out of that. And I hired my own coach, which was also very pivotal in in the conversation and in my mindset of hiring my own coach. She happened to also be a lawyer, and that was really when the light bulb went off. I had a coach call me forward and was like, "Why are you not helping female lawyers? Like, you are a female lawyer." And I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, no, I quit being a lawyer." you know, it's the mind trash that we tell ourselves, and so yeah, that was how it was born. I just had a coach call me forward and I put myself out there. I will never forget, I just put like a static post on Facebook and was like, um, are there any female lawyers who are feeling burned out and overwhelmed? Do they want to join my free 6-week masterclass? I'm testing out a new theory. Like, just threw it out there to just like literally see what would happen. I had 40 women in my DMs. 40.
Yes,
I was like,
girl.
oh my
I
God.
love that.
Like clearly I had struck on something. And so it's just kind of, been messy action going forward. But the foundation of what I do is just empowering women to know that they have a choice and there is a different and better way, and that you can actually have a career and have a personal life that both feel really good and fulfilling. And I think the power of coaching, collaboration, and community is what gets you there.
I love that. And there are so many things in there that I want to actually tap into. But I think one that kind of hits home with me because we have similar stories as far as that goes. I was never a lawyer, I was a paralegal, but I also was an executive paralegal. So I ran the firm on top of
grieving my father, getting pregnant in the same year, and then 22 months later, delivering my son. So it was a lot. It was a lot to handle. And like you, I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have anybody to lean on. Of course, my mom. God bless her. I love her to pieces, and she's an amazing mother, but just really not the best life coach. And so, just like understanding that we all have our strengths, and that people that love you try to be there for you, my spouse included, my husband included. It's really helpful when that somebody has been in your shoes, really knows what's going on, and say, hey, let me hold your hand for a second and let's figure it out together. And for me, it was Tracy Litt. She was my coach, and I literally stumbled upon her. I kind of like you did the whole discovery crisis thing, and I noticed that that's a very common thing. Actually, before or after this episode, there's a beautiful quote that I'm gonna do in the intro or outro of this episode because I feel like more women need to hear it. I actually sent it to my husband because sometimes he's not understanding what we're going through as women and as mothers. And this quote really like encompassed everything that I've been through for the last almost, my daughter will be 9 and my father will be 10 years past. So really understanding how motherhood and grief kind of go hand in hand. When I saw that quote, I literally printed it out and posted it everywhere just because it's like, I'm not alone. I know I'm not crazy. And I know that I have something more to offer
Yes.
because I went through this, right?
Yes.
With sacrifice comes learning, comes everything. And my story is going to be shared in a different way. And so I understand completely when you said that about the identity crisis and trying to find yourself again. Mine was a little different because in the fact that I let go of my dreams. I was always ambitious. I was always motivated. I always knew I wanted to own my own company. I always knew I wanted to stay in the legal sector. And I let go of all of that. Like literally, as soon as my father passed away, everything died with him. All my ambition, my motivation, like my reason for living was him. And so when that happened, that was probably the biggest impact of my life. And I was fairly young, not too young, but I was fairly young. And so the way I lost him too was very traumatic. So all of that kind of goes into it. And that's so funny that you say that because I was literally having this conversation. I told you before the recording, I had a whole course that I was doing for NALA that I recorded for them. And at the end, I spoke about secondary trauma, burnout, anxiety, stress, and all these elements that come in with just being an entrepreneur, being a legal professional, all these things that we have to relive and do all the things and really cultivate that and then still have a personal life, right? So
And
it's
still somehow function, just function.
just like, just live, that's all, and then be a good parent, be a good this, be a good daughter, be a good whatever. Um, So, one question that I really have for you, and this is honestly out of curiosity, is do you find a common theme since you do work primarily with female entrepreneurs or female lawyers? Do you find a common theme, like a string that kind of like really triggers them to either reach out to you or like really seek help, like the SOS moment? Is there like these one or two things that you feel like everybody should know about?
I hope you're enjoying this podcast episode so far, as this podcast is just the beginning. At Eda Rosa LLC, we specialize in helping law firms and legal teams thrive with tailored staff training, operations management, and team building solutions. Whether you're looking to streamline your practice or elevate your team's potential, we're here to help. So visit www.edarosallc.com. That's www.edarosallc.com.
And it sounds cliche, but it really is. It is varying degrees of overwhelm that are leading them to burnout, and they know it. They know it, and they cannot get off the hamster wheel by themselves. Like they
Mm,
know that they need someone to help them pause, assess, reassess what's working right now, what's not working, and let's get a game plan in check right now so you can proceed doing what you need to do, because none of these women are done. That's also the common theme. It's like they have got super ambitious dreams and goals, and they are playing big and shooting for the stars, but they are also saying yes a lot and overwhelming themselves, and they need someone to come alongside them to tell them, hey, like, it's okay, you're doing a great job, let's just stop and reassess to see how we can get more strategic here, to see how we can get more streamlined. Let's start delegating. Let's talk about some better boundaries, why those have been hard for you, right? Like why we've allowed it to get here, and how we cannot repeat those patterns. So I would definitely say the overwhelm to burnout for sure. And the other thing that I see is that women who have followed me for a long time have had that itch for something else or more. And I found lawyers are some of the literally most creative people I have ever met in my life. It's just been snuffed out of us because there is no creativity in the law. I mean, like, there's not a creative writing class in law school, PS. Um, but they're wickedly creative. So the further they get in their career and the more experience they have, the more life experience they have, they get these things of like, what if I wanted to create this? What if I wanted to take these posts I was doing on LinkedIn that are doing really well? What if I wanted to think about monetizing that? Like, how would I do that? And the fear of the first step, of not knowing how to really like take that first step or what that would look like. That is often another reason people come to me, or we uncover that as we move through, right? It's like,
Right.
I'm overwhelmed. And once they move past that overwhelm, it's like, oh, by the way, I've also had this on my heart. And I think that's kind of been contributing to why I feel overwhelmed, because I want to do this. And I'm also doing my real 9 to 5 job. And I don't know how to manage this. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
varying factors of overwhelm.
Yeah, I've met plenty of, actually, I was at this event not too long ago, and I met so many. Like, one was a trial lawyer, but she DJ'd at night. The other one was another trial lawyer, but she did the marketing for the firm because she likes doing all of that. So it's like, it's so, you're right. Like, I'm noticing the same trends. And my good friend Kyla, shout out to her, she owns and hosts a podcast called You Are a Lawyer. And that's what she does. That's all she does. All her guests are lawyers or former lawyers that are doing something else additional. Like, she had the other day, she had one that was a comedian. And so, like, there's just all these.
It's crazy. Write a book. They're act like that,
Yes,
like to act. I mean, I'm just telling you, sing. I mean, it's
it's true.
voice coach. Like, it's hysterical. Like, I'm because the same. I interview all these, and I am just like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. I didn't even know you did that. I mean, I play the violin. I'm like, do you really now? See, it's just
I
these
love it.
things that get snuffed out of us, and then we get so busy we don't have time. We forget.
Yeah, and I was having that conversation, that's funny enough, this morning with my son, because my son is a very creative mind. He's 6, but he's very like beyond his years. I feel like he's just an old soul in the wrong time, and he very much like my dad. And so when I'm talking to him, he's asking all the right questions, but in the most inappropriate way or time, right? So it's like, okay, honey, I understand that your curiosity comes, and I get that. But let's not talk about that in the public because they're gonna think you're
We're
weird or
gonna
they're
keep
gonna
that in
think
the house, okay? We can't.
yeah,
Don't
we're
talk
gonna
to
have that
anybody
conversation.
about
Yeah,
that.
let's not talk about that. He talks a lot about other things. And so, but I was like, but don't ever let anybody change you or take that away from you because I feel like that's half the battle, right? We go to school and they robotize us. Like, I feel like my kids are becoming slowly but surely robots. And nothing against the education system or to get political, but I have noticed that specifically that as soon as I put them, in school, everything's about standardized testing and you need to learn these words by this time and we're only going to teach it to you one way, so good luck, have fun. But yeah, I know you're still a kid, so yeah, we're going to have like 15 minutes of recess so you could just go play and get all that energy out in 15
Yes.
minutes because that ever worked. So it's very like navigating through that, right? I grew up in the 80s and 90s where we had a lot of free time and a
Yeah.
lot of free play and a lot of room for creativity. Like, I remember we had home ec and art class was like an hour long.
Yes.
And, we had music class, like real music class, where there was like a whole bunch of instruments and you could just test them out and see what you liked and what you didn't like. And there were so many extracurricular activities at school. during school hours. Now everything's after programs or before, and everything is an elective and this and that, and it's a choice. Before we didn't have a choice, it was actually implemented in our. So it was a very different dynamic that my kids are going through. So I try to instill that and be like, guys, I don't need this creativity or this curiosity to go anywhere. Like, I
Yes.
want you to cultivate it. I want you to grow into it because you guys are onto something. My daughter's super creative. She likes expressing herself through dance and through art and creating things and bracelets and, earrings. And she has like this whole fashion book on all these things that she wants to create. And I'm like, you get it, girl. Do all the
Yes,
things. You want more? I'm going to buy you more stuff.
yes.
And then, she discovered this YouTube channel where it teaches her how to draw. So she's learning how to draw humans.
My daughter
so
does that too. She's like, Mommy, look what I drew. I'm like, that's amazing. I need to get on the
right?
channel.
Like, this is what I'm saying. And I was like, but I don't want that to go away because I feel like that's what happens to us.
Yeah,
They
it does.
slowly chip at us. They
It
slowly
does.
chip at us and then they start piling on labels. And society loves to put labels on us, especially when you speak a different language or you're not originally from the Americas. They love to just add on things to you. And I'm not trying to protect them from that, but I'm trying to teach them that that's not normal, right?
Right.
That you have to like embrace your diversity, embrace your differences, your creativity, and that I'm trying to save it, because that's what happened to me. I used to love dancing and music and arts and museums, and I just loved culture and languages. And I grew up in Miami where there's nobody spoke English. Everybody spoke a different language. Everybody was from a different country. There was no such thing as an American. Everybody was American because we all lived there. So I never understood that notion of, not being and this and that and not speaking. Like, we all spoke English, but we just didn't speak it to each other. We only spoke it when appropriate and, things like that. And so it was different. I grew up in a different world than my kids are growing. And now with this AI and navigating all the new stuff that's coming in the legal industry, we're desensitizing a lot. And it's just creating a more and more gap. So back to what
That's
we were
my
talking
soapbox
about.
for today. And everyone can climb on with me. Thank you so
That's
much.
right.
Yes,
That's
I'm on
right.
it with you.
You spoke about, and I love this in your questionnaire, which is why I do this, but you spoke about building an impactful community. And I'm always about a community base. We serve our community. We are the customer service of the community. What is your identity or your definition of an impactful community? Like, what is it that you dream or vision about that?
My definition of an impactful community is a group of people who are together in the same room to learn from each other, to grow together, and to elevate each other, whatever that means. And I have seen it happen time and time again at my Powerhouse Lawyers Retreat. I've had 4 of these retreats,
I
and
know, congrats. I was going to talk about that later, but go ahead.
it's so great. And you can actually, and I've seen it happen literally in real time, in real life, putting 8 perfect strangers, lawyers, powerhouses in a room. And you're thinking, I don't know how these personalities are going to get along. Like, I know all these women individually, but I'm throwing them all in a small, intimate environment. And you just don't know, right? These are just the question marks. You just don't know when you're event planning. But what I now know is that's my superpower. My superpower is attracting those women and putting them in the room. I didn't realize that about myself, but that is literally my superpower, and I freaking love it. And when I do that, the magic is undeniable. That room is just full of, first of all, resonance, validation, power, growth, knowledge, learning, sharing, connection, networking. What do you need? How am I going to get you there? Like, to me, the greatest moment in a community is when a woman sits down and she looks at her other people and is like, I've got this thing. I've been dreaming about it. It's been on my heart, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm capable of that. I don't know if the world needs me. I don't know if I can rise to the occasion. And then you look, and all these women look at you in the face and they say, oh, yes, you
Yeah.
are, right? I'm reminding you who you are. And guess what? This is how we're going to help you, and we're going to support you. We're going to connect you with this person. We're going to be accountability partners. You're going to call me when it gets hard and you forget who the hell you are, and I need to give you a buck up buttercup and let you keep going. Like, one of those,
Love that.
that is an impactful community. And then what happens from there, those relationships expand and they start doing business together. They start referring business. I would love one day to just have the Rolodex of every lawyer's dream. Like, I would love for my community to grow to a point where it is like a Rolodex of people's dreams. You can come in here, you can find who you need, what you need, whether it be service-based or just like a friendship, or I'm going to be out on the coast of California. I want to connect with someone while I'm out there, like that kind of thing. I would love for, that's my like big picture dream for powerhouse lawyers, to be able to just come into this world and know that they just have an as is support system.
So you did already talk about that, and you talked about the retreats, which I love. And so what's next? Like, are you going to write a book? Are you going to do some like master courses? Like, what's next for powerhouse lawyers?
Yes. So 2025 is the year I would love to be on more stages, making more impact. I love to speak. It's one of my favorite things, which is really ironic because like I refused to join the moot court team in high school because I was so scared of getting up there and speaking. Isn't the irony that I would then become a lawyer and I want a mic? Like, what's happening? The stories we tell ourselves. So yes, I would love to be speaking more in 2025. So that's a big goal. And I'm, doing all the things to make that happen. Another retreat, and really just growing the Powerhouse Lawyers community. My husband and I and some of our other family members, we've opened up another side business, an insurance company. So I went and got my insurance license and just doing a little bit of that on the side, which has actually kind of been fun. I got to study for the first, this is how big of a dork I am. I got to study for the first time in a long time and challenge myself and go take a test. And it was actually really fun. And then I passed and it was like, gold star.
Little wins, little wins.
Little wins. But yeah, I just want to keep growing this community. I'm excited to speak on more stages and have more impact. And I want this to be the year of more connection for me. So I'm going to conferences, networking. I want to go to events. There's more events this year. I hosted the events last year. I'd like to go to more events and have someone host for me.
A lot easier when you attend.
Yes. So that's kind of what's in the books for me.
I love that. And I love that for you. I feel like that's so you. I think it's so on brand, not to be a cliche or anything. And that's amazing. So I love that you're creating and growing a community that is much needed, especially everybody's like, oh, boohoo females. And it's like, no, you have no idea what's going on scientifically, how we are pretty much programmed, especially after certain pregnancies or any pregnancies, all the things that our bodies go through that people don't understand either. And there's a lot more science to what we're trying to do. And hopefully people understand that more and more. And you can continue to spread the word. And I appreciate you for being on here. I appreciate you for taking the time. I appreciate you for being the powerhouse that you are and for spreading that powerhouseness, I guess, or that power. I don't
You
even
can
know
make up that word. I like powerhouse.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, we're gonna do
like
it. We're
that.
just gonna roll with it. We're just gonna continue on. And thank you so much for our listeners. All her links, she provided me everything. So all that will be on our descriptions on both YouTube and all the podcast apps that you can possibly imagine, because I have worked very hard to be on every single one of them. So definitely any app that you download for podcasting, we are on there. So remember to subscribe, share, and of course, tell a friend. Until next time, bye.